And when it comes to COVID in China, the government dictates whether you get to leave your house. And in Venezuela, Biden gives a dictator a new lease on oil production. Let's bring in the panel, the author of the new book, Inferno, Kurt Schlichter, and Fox News contributor Leslie Marshall. Thank you. Welcome to you both being here on LA. It's very cozy and nice. I want to begin with the New York Times. This goes back to 2021. I'll put up a couple of headlines. 2021, the Times reads, quote here, power, patriotism, and 1.4 billion people, how China beat the virus and roared back. But tonight, you have an op-ed published in the New York Times. Paul Krugman is the author, saying, quote, how China lost the COVID war. Kurt, when even the liberal lockdown people who love lockdowns in this country are starting to say, like Fauci, oh, that's a bad idea, you know there's something going on in China.
Well, it's a terrible idea, but the big story is the Chinese people demanding their freedom after thousands of years of oppression. They've seen what how the rest of the world lives. There was a deal with the communists. You give up your freedom, we'll make you prosperous. Well, this isn't prosperous. This isn't. They're not keeping their deal. The Chinese people want freedom, and I wish my country would back them up.
And it's interesting because, Leslie, look, it's not Tiananmen Square yet. It's moving in that direction. I mean, these things are getting bigger and more boisterous every single day. You can see the people in China are fed up with these zero COVID policies, and, you know, the White House isn't saying anything about it. What do you make of that?
Well, a couple of things. It's interesting you bring up Tiananmen Square, because if you look at the chants and the songs they're singing, they're actually socialist, not communist songs, and they sang these very songs before what we saw happen before our eyes back in 1989 in Tiananmen Square. We did have a spokesperson from the National Security Department today push back on this, but I think that the White House has to be very careful here, because when we bring up Tiananmen Square, we know this, even though the people may want freedom, this isn't going to happen overnight, and it's certainly not happening in a vacuum. We have a communist country that is looking at their people that they would perceive as being out of control, and we've seen what they've done in the past. We saw what was done in Hong Kong. We saw what's been done in China. You know, protests are very rare in China, and on this scale, almost unheard of.
Yeah, it really is one of the biggest stories in the world right now. We are going to check back on it every night. Meantime, on to Venezuela. I want to read this. This is Mary Anastasia O'Grady writing in the Wall Street Journal, quoting here about Biden turning to Venezuelans for oil. Washington policymakers, she says, occasionally make miscalculations that help American enemies undermine development in a poor country or harm U.S. economic interests. But to nail the trifecta requires a special blend of ideological blindness and incompetence that is mercifully rare. Kurt, that's a big statement.
Oh, my gosh, and it's an accurate one. This is a disgrace. The oil supplying the United States should come from the United States. It should come from American workers. We shouldn't outsource it to a bunch of communists in South America. All right? It's so bizarre that in this one act, the president not only stabs working people in the back and stabs the country in the back, but also demonstrates the whole fallacy of the entire climate change nonsense. Because you know, Venezuelan oil isn't more climate friendly than American oil. It's ridiculous. It's a disgrace, and it needs to stop.
It reminds me of people going onto a plane and pulling down their masks so they can eat for 25 or 30 minutes. And people are like, oh, no, the virus is fine. When you're eating, it's totally fine. It doesn't spread through the cabin. Venezuela, oh, no, climate change doesn't happen over there at all, Leslie. The thing is, you know, you shut down American oil. You incentivize production in Venezuela. What's your defense of this?
Well, first of all, I think we just need to look at the facts. This isn't something that just happened. This is something that was happening, and then it was stopped because of humanitarian abuses. And Maduro was not willing to work with the opposition party, not only to have a discussion, but to have any kind of money that went toward public safety, toward public health, education, and food security.
But
and now now he is, and this is a 6 month. This is a 6 months. Okay, we're going to give you 6 months.
But why?
But we can pull it.
Why American production stopped? Why not? Why not give it back to the Americans? Say, look, and then you had Kirby coming out today saying, oh, there's 9,000 oil leases. He knows, everybody knows that you need hundreds of millions of dollars to get those oil leases going. And the oil companies have said again and again and again, we are not about to invest in something that you are at war with, and that is oil. Your final word on this, Kurt.
Look, the president said we are going to shut down oil. and the oil companies have taken him at his word and not invested their money in it. That money should be going to American workers and American jobs, not a bunch of communists in South America.
Kurt Schlichter, Leslie Marshall, great to have you on. Thank you both.